Let's talk some Ducks recruiting. Last night, Oregon versus Indiana. It was a 30-20 stunner in Autzen Stadium. Number 3 versus number 7. Some flip targets on campus. We're going to break down what all this means for recruiting despite the Oregon loss on Saturday night. But before we get going, Duck fans, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. All right, let's bring in Max Torres, recruiting insider from ScoopDuck.com. And there's 2 official visitors on campus, Braylon Hodge and Milan Paris. Both of them, actually, are freshly decommitted from different programs. Braylon Hodge announced his decommitment. I thought this was interesting. On Friday, before he left to head out to Eugene, he was committed to Michigan State. Do you think, because he's taken some other visits, but he hasn't decommitted, do you think his decommitment had anything to do with Oregon?
It's hard to say that it didn't have anything to do with Oregon. I mean, the timing was certainly really interesting there, Josh, and we all know how important timing is when it comes to recruiting, particularly now for these 2026 guys, with so many of them already committed to other schools. So I haven't heard that Oregon, played a role in the timing of that one, but on the surface, it would certainly suggest that Oregon's in a good spot there as they battle Texas and Michigan here in what looks like a pseudo top 3 here for Hodge, fresh off of his decommitment from the Spartans. I think that this is definitely a huge priority for Oregon. They've been going for a second linebacker in this 2026 class for a very long time, and things look like they're heating up very quickly here with Hodge now that he's taken his official visit. He'll take his last official visit, I should say, to Texas before making his final commitment, it seems. But I liked Oregon's chances here. They definitely knew they had to make a huge impression on him this weekend.
Yeah, they'd like to add another linebacker. Hodge is now available. They'd also like to add another wide receiver in Milan Paris. He decommitted from Iowa State about 8 days ago now, maybe 10 days ago now. So how big of a priority is Oregon making Paris?
I'd say they're making him a fairly big priority here. I mean, their 2026 class isn't that big, Josh. 17 verbal commitments. 2 of those are wide receivers in Messiah Hampton and Jalen Lott, but it looks like Ross Douglas wants to go into his home state and would love to add Paris to this class here with him being an Ohio native.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they want to add a little bit of size here and some more playmaking ability. Wide receiver is certainly a premium position for Oregon, and they don't have a ton of bodies right now. If you're just looking at their receiver room with Evan Stewart being hurt and some other movement there at the position. So I think that you want as many good receivers as you possibly can. And it looks like Ross Douglas is making Paris a big priority. So that'll be one we're tracking very closely. And we'll be updating our readers over at Scoop Duck when I get some more on him.
Yeah, and Scoop Duck has a ton of updates on 2027 names on campus. We know there were some big ones there. Josiah Molden was a top corner on campus. Also, Dante Wright. Now, you had a chance to speak to Dante Wright. What's he saying coming out of this one?
The big takeaway I took from my interview with Dante Wright is that he went on record basically saying that he's focused on 3 schools right now. He's committed to Georgia, but he's also focusing on Oregon and USC as he navigates this recruitment. Still fairly early in his process, obviously being a 2027 recruit. I like Oregon's chances here to ultimately pull off a flip. I haven't logged a prediction, but if there is a commit or a recruit, I should say, that's committed elsewhere in the 27 class that Oregon has a good shot with, I think that Wright has to be at the top of the list. Oregon's got really good ties in the Long Beach Poly that we've, I think, spoken about before, Josh, and you get Wright on campus again after he visited for a spring practice. He's going to head out to Athens next weekend for a return trip there, but it's kind of steady as she goes. He has a really good relationship with Rashad Wadood, as well as Chris Hampton, the 2 secondary coaches for the Ducks, and he's definitely feeling the love from Oregon after his recent visit. So I think Oregon's got a good shot here. Just got to continue putting in the work on the trail.
Yeah, and putting in some work. We saw some commitments on campus this weekend. 5-star safety Jet Washington was out in Eugene. Just generally speaking, when it comes to these commitments, what do you think they took away from this game despite the loss?
Yeah, I think they took away the atmosphere that you saw in Eugene. It was a pretty big day. All things considered, you had College Game Day on campus, and there was some awesome energy just all throughout the campus and really the city, with Eugene being such a college town. I think you took away Oregon experiencing some adversity. And I guess for a guy like Jet, you could see the play from the secondary being a relative bright spot with a young guy playing a lot in Brandon Finney Jr., who had that pick six, a true freshman.
Yeah.
So Oregon's safety play was pretty solid against Indiana. I know Aaron Flowers is a younger guy as well, redshirt freshman safety from Texas, who was flying around last night against the Hoosiers. So I think you look at how Oregon's going to try to bounce back from some adversity. A lot of fans are obviously firing off their reactions to Oregon's first loss of the year. But recruits look at the big picture. I don't think they look at just one game. And now it's going to be an interesting opportunity to see how Dan Lennon and the Ducks bounce back with the game on the road against Rutgers next week.
All right, Oregon fans, talk to Max and I. What do you take away? Just like recruits, everybody sees things a little differently. So Oregon Duck fans, what's your biggest takeaway from this game against Indiana? Put it in the comment section below.